Hey, lacrosse fans, Scott Gabrielson here. I'm here for another edition of Wings Alumni Spotlight. And today we are talking with legendary coach, player, Hall of Famer, number 34, Tony Resch. Thanks, 34. Good to have you here.
Always a pleasure, Scott. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk with you today.
You got it. You're one of my Wings teammates, coaches, everything, somebody that's been very important in my life and the lives of so many players you've coached over the years. I want to give, our fans at home a little overview of you and some of your accomplishments. Yale University graduate, Wings player and team captain from 1988 through 93, Wings coach from 94 to 2001, six-time champion with the Wings, 2 as a player, 4 as a coach, NLL Hall of Famer in 2008, USA Lacrosse Hall of Famer as a defender and coach in 2002, still coaching the PLA Archers. You're one of the most accomplished players and coaches in the game today. But I want to talk about the Wings. Talk about your career and your playing days with the Wings.
Yeah, so you were right sort of at the ground floor with me. I think back to those days still very, very fondly. It just was an amazing period of time for all of us. I think I would say certainly the Wings alum from that era. We all basically started with zero box lacrosse experience. I think for just about everybody in those days, the first box game that we played in was the first box game we ever played in, which was pretty unique. And we were very lucky to have Mike French and Dave Evans leading the way. So I think we got an immediate leg up in that we were learning box lacrosse, true box, as I sometimes hear that phrase, whereas I think some of the other teams when the league was just starting out were really field guys trying to figure it out. That included us, but we certainly had great leadership to help us really start to understand the game. And those first years, I don't know what it was. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, but to this day, I tell people what it was like. And from the 6 years of playing to 8 years of coaching, every time I walked out in our home, whether it was Spectrum or Wells Fargo or FU Center or whatever version it was, just to look around and see the support and the excitement and that the crowd brought to us was, I think you'd agree, Scott. I would say one of those games, the sellouts in the Spectrum, was probably more people than I played in front of in my entire field career. So it was on so many levels, just an amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah, 18,000 fans filling this Spectrum or the FU Center, as you call it, First Union Center, when it was first built. It was so great, it's just great memories, the championships. You can never take that away from us, the bonds we have, and you just expressed it. But you also made a seamless transition from a player to coach, something really unique in the game today. And I played with you as a teammate and, a teammate of you when you were captain. Then you moved directly behind the bench, and it was a seamless transition. Talk about that experience itself.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting, when I'm in ensuing years been a coach for a long time at the high school level and a high school athletic director. So at the time when I went from playing to coaching, I was like, oh, it was a perfectly reasonable decision. I should be the guy. And I look back now, I'm like, what in the world were they thinking about just taking a guy and putting him in there? But I recognize the best thing that I had going for me was guys like you, Scott, and Flinner and Gary Martin and Volks and Billy Miller and all those guys that I had played with. So I think we had all come up the same way, and you play hard and you play smart and you team first all the time. And so all the great things that Dave Evans established and Mike Page established in terms of what was the Wings, you hear it all the time now, but we didn't have the term for it then, was Wings culture and what are the Wings about? And I just tried to carry on that same kind of mindset and approach, and with you guys leading the way. And I'm sure there were some guys coming on board that might be like, who is this guy or what have you? And to have you guys, whether I'm sure I had some stumbles in there, but to have you guys saying, don't just stay the course. And, I was able to get my feet on the ground, and certainly with GT Corrigan helping out. And I had really great people all around me in our training staff and our equipment guy, all that stuff matters. And I just was in a position where I could worry about trying to help you guys improve like I had done. And a lot of us learning on the job. And so, yeah, I'd like to say I had a plan, but I think I was flying by the seat of my pants. Good portion of that.
Right. Well, yeah, certainly it's and you had our support behind you. I mean, you had our respect, and for us as players, it was a no-brainer. You know, there's no one better, you know, to be you, you know, to have you behind the bench. But another point that I want to bring up is talk to us about, you were kind of the first guy to assemble a team, or you had the good fortune of assembling a team that we kind of were the first team to go to an OD line, front door, back door. But you integrated the American-born players right in with the best Canadians. Talk about that mix, and from what you experienced with us and putting those championship rosters together to what you're seeing today in the game.
Yeah, it was, I mean, again, I feel like I stole most of the good things I did first from Dave Evans, but then also, you remember, Scott, as I was starting to coach, that's when the Bandits were fully going and Toronto Rock were coming on, and we were competing against the Canadians much more. There, obviously now it's very much dominated by the Canadians and Native Americans, but in those days they were still coming in. So I think we were constantly, one thing I felt like we did was we kept learning and kept sort of developing. And I just think that was, we were lucky to have, I should have started with this when I stepped into coaching, having Gary and Paul Gate to begin with, and Dallas Elliott to begin
That
with.
didn't hurt, right?
Marchek as a rookie. But I think you're right. It was what I think Dave did it, and I continued to try and do. You had those guys that some of the skills they had, you can't learn when you're first playing a game, but certainly we had, whatever we called them, we had different terms for them, the muckers and grinders and the role players and the glue guys. And we had a unbelievable group of those guys that were learning, but were just relentless in terms of competing and playing smart lacrosse. And it's interesting, this popped in my head not too long ago. I'm sorry, I'll bore you with one thing that came to mind. Was in those early days, you think about the number of guys that either were or became coaches, right? In no particular order: Volks, Nody, Mac, Batesy, POG, Gary Gate, Tom Marchek, Finn, Tom Slate, Adam Mueller, John Tucker, Ricky Free, Paulie Denick, and you guys were coaching your youth leagues. And I mean, so not just really great accomplished players, but smart guys. And that to me was always the key element. And then as we went along, guys retire and guys move on. And I think by then we had kind of I don't know, what's the right word, prototype of what kind of guy can come in here and compete and be sort of supportive. And my coaching careers, there were three guys that went all the way through: Kevin Finner and Tom Marchek and Dallas Elliott. Again, great, amazing place to start. And we just kept finding those guys that wanted to come in and just be a contributor and muck and grind and do the dirty work. And it worked for us when I was playing, and worked pretty well as a coach as well.
Yeah, no, I talk about that as the Wings coaching tree, and everything that our championship teams, that was the foundation of so much success to making an influence on the Philadelphia lacrosse scene. And you're a huge, example of that. And, getting into that, you're also someone that's been really special on so many levels, from youth lacrosse to high school, to club, to pro, indoor, pro, outdoor, Team USA. Your demeanor and your approach doesn't really change, in your message, but your locker rooms and your huddles do, from high school kids to pros. How do you maintain that? Talk about that. How do you keep that, talking to a high school kid one day and then talking to some of the best players in the world, over the weekend?
Yeah. I mean, it was just kind of an evolution, I guess. And I mean, I do remember times when I first started coaching with the Wings, or probably after a few years. I remember a day when I went to just around the corner to Spartan Youth Lacrosse. My Patrick was probably, 8 years old, coached there. Went down to Ridley and coached Penn Charter in a game. Went to the airport right from Ridley. Luckily it worked out, and got on a plane and flew to Rochester or Buffalo in a single day, and coached all three. And I mean, the thing for me is I don't try to overcomplicate the game. And so I think just trying to create a bond, whether they're young guys or high school kids or USA kids or in pro box or pro field, you just try and just be consistent and say, I'm here to help you and help you get better. And certainly in my younger years, I could say that a little more strongly, I guess. But yeah, and it's funny, I'll give you one other quick story. In the mid 2000s, I wasn't coaching the Wings at that point. I was coaching at Philadelphia Barrage in the MLL, and one of my high school LaSalle kids came over, and on that Monday, he said, Coach, you're yelling the same things at the Barrage guys as you yell at us. And I was like, either I'm overdoing it on the high school kids or I'm underselling the pro guys. But I mean, again, the more I thought, I'm like, well, yeah, I don't make up multiple defenses because they're MLL or pro guys. I just, I try to be consistent and make it as digestible or as it can be for the player, whatever level that is.
LaSalle College High School, you was coach, head coach, athletic director, guidance counselor,
assistant coach to former wing Bill Leahy at all.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
The way along.
There you
assistant
go.
Coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, got that built to the
the
list of the coaching
no
tree.
doubt. You've coached Matt Rambo. You've coached some former Wings and some great professional cross players. I know you watched the Wings today. Talk about the current team and what you see, and your thoughts on them in the season.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Paul Days. I mean, certainly the game it's sometimes, I'm sure it's whatever, it's been 20 years or so, just the skill level across the board is just incredible. So I love watching the game. As you know, Scott, I'm much more of a defensive oriented minded person, and I look at some of the skill sets and groups that go out there week in and week out that the Wings have to deal with, and I'm like, I'm glad I'm just watching on TV or sitting in the stands. It is, I mean, the level of play is just so enjoyable to watch. I really feel like the Wings are right on the edge. I feel like it's become a league almost. I coach in the pro outdoor league, and all that the parity that a lot of leagues really aspire to exists very much in the NLL. I look at the scores every week and the box scores, and the margin of error is so thin, and I feel like the Wings are right there. I don't think there's a team out there that they can't beat, but at the same time, if they're not playing, really good lacrosse, then there's a bunch of teams out there that can make you pay. So I think, for both of us as competitors and former players, and as a former coach, that's where you want to be, right? It'd be great to be dominant, but to know that you play your game and you can win. And I feel like the Wings are right on the edge.
Yep, you got to bring your best game every night.
Every night. Yep.
Any area, I would say that I remember it comes down to one play, one ground ball could make the difference, and it's something that I'll never forget. Ground balls are so important to possess the ball, and those are words of wisdom that you shared with me that I've always kept with myself and my approach. So thank you for that. As a teammate and as a coach.
Sure. Yep. So, and we know that the line is there. The difference is one of the, and we know from box as well, like just one weird bounce off the boards, and a ground ball you had isn't yours, and vice versa. So it's a fun game that way.
Yeah, no doubt. You continue in your winning ways. So you're an assistant coach with Chris Bates and the PLL Archers.
Yep.
Won the championship. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yep.
Good to see you up on the podium with more champagne being spilled on you.
That never gets old.
That doesn't. I love it. Now you've also coached your sons, another generation of 34s out there. Right. Talk about that.
Yeah, one of the, obviously one of the great pleasures of my coaching career, both Patrick and Connor played 4 years of lacrosse at LaSalle, and that's a very unique and special opportunity to have that, time with your sons. And I hope not too often, but I'm sure there were rides home that maybe they wish they weren't the coach's son, but they were unbelievable teammates and players, and I couldn't have been more proud to wear both hats simultaneously, coaching and being a dad. And they both went on and played in college, and again, then I could just solely wear my biased 100% support dad hat, and that was an unbelievable experience as well with both Patrick and Connor. And Patrick is now in the PLL. That's a very, speaking of unique coaching and parent situations, I've coached against them probably 7 or 8 times, and to be rooting for your son simultaneously with trying to beat him is haven't quite figured that one out, but it's certainly an honor to see him out there. And he's had Patrick's had a really nice career with the Chaos. Great program. Andy Towers, another former indoor guy.
Yeah,
and I will say, Gabe, I'll say one thing. And you used to help me out all the time when I first started coaching. Just about the time I started coaching the Wings, I started out at Penn Charter, another school in Philadelphia. Connor's back at Penn Charter. He's the new head coach this spring. So kind of one of those across full circle
wow.
situation. So very excited for Connor to have that opportunity.
Fantastic. Well, you got a lot of fans rooting for you, and with your PLL victory, I got to ask, how many championship rings do you have now?
Well, as head coach, well, I don't know.
Player coach, you
playing and coach and a head coach, I'll say I have the 6 that you mentioned. I have 2 with the Barrage. Yeah,
15 Team USA and everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
3 Team USA as an assistant coach and once as a player. So yeah, I'll say this, and 100% accurate in that I've been so blessed in my career, certainly as a player with teammates like you and unbelievable friends, and as a coach to be just around unbelievably talented and dedicated young people. I was young once, can't tell from my hair, but and I've just been so fortunate at a variety of levels to be around the type of people. And again, I want to mention staff people and administration. Like we had Frenchie and Pete Tyson for so many years, just kind of helping us and leading the way. And I've been so fortunate to be around some unbelievable groups. And yeah, stay around long enough, good things happen for you, and I'm a great example of that.
Well, it's not just luck, it's skill, and you're an incredible leader and a great friend. And, thank you for everything you've done for lacrosse at every level. You have huge fans in Philadelphia, and, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Scott. And you know as well as I do, and I want to just say to the Wings family, and that includes fans as well, that we recognize all these years later the bonds that we built in those earliest days that have just carried through all these ensuing years. And it is I'm so proud to have all the great people still in my life as dear friends and fellow coaches and all those other things. And I'm forever thankful to the Wings for kind of giving me that foundation, both as a player and a coach, that's really kind of what everything else that I've been able to do has been built upon that. So, yeah, thanks to the Wings and everything involved, or everybody involved with the Wings, past and present. Thanks, Scott. And can I give one more last plug?
Yeah, please.
You know as well as I do, the brains and beauty behind all this is my wife, Mary. So she gets ultimately, she's the one who made it all work. So
yes, sir. I love it. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Your class act all the way around. And, on your behalf, thank you, fans. On behalf of Tony Resch, I'm Scott Gabrielson. Tony Resch will be signing autographs at the Wings game Friday the 2nd at halftime of the Halifax Thunderbirds game. So come see Tony, and thanks for joining us today. Go Wings.